Personal Story segment tonight got very personal last Friday between Fox News correspondent James Rosen and Pentagon spokesman Admiral John Kirby.
Would you say that Barack Obama, as Commander-in-Chief, has had a positive impact on the morale of the men and women of the United States Armed Forces?
I think, look, I have to really take issue with the question. The Commander-in-Chief is the Commander-in-Chief, and it doesn't matter who he is.
So you discount the proposition that the top officer in the United States Armed Forces can have some impact on the morale of the rank and file?
No, leadership always has an impact on people. That's what leadership is. I didn't say that leadership is devoid from morale.
Just let the record reflect I didn't ask you a political question. I asked you to assess.
Yes, you did.
Oh, joining us now from Washington is Rosen. Why did you ask the question in the first place?
I asked about the relationship between Barack Obama as Commander-in-Chief and the morale of the rank and file of the Armed Forces, simply based on my own informal discussions with members of the rank and file and others in higher positions in the military who have told me that it has not been a positive impact. And I thought it was important for the record of this very tumultuous time that somebody at the Pentagon have that question put to them on the record.
Well, describe what you have heard, because I don't think people know what the problem is, if there is a problem.
I think by and large, we have to recognize that a lot of things factor into the morale of the rank and file. Pay and benefits, the access to combat, the willingness to their ability to get in and fight and do their jobs and that sort of thing. And one factor is the conduct of the Commander-in-Chief. And I have heard pretty uniformly, but informally I should stress, that they don't believe in this Commander-in-Chief, that they don't think he is willing to take the fight, as you have been suggesting on the program up till now. You heard in the briefing room at the Pentagon, where I am not a regular, the sort of titters from the Pentagon press corps at my even asking the question. The Admiral, whom I respect deeply for his 28 years of service in the Navy, said that I had asked a political question, and I told him no, I hadn't. I'd asked a question about the relationship between the Commander-in-Chief and the morale of the rank and file. In our exchange, he acknowledged that that is a legitimate question. The problem for Admiral Kirby was this was not a political question. It was a military question with real political implications from which he rather sensibly shrank. I just would have appreciated it had he not impugned the motives of his question.
Okay, and I agree with you that it was a provocative question, but I didn't see it as a political question. But I am interested to know about the dissatisfaction that you say is apparent in the American military. Is it because Barack Obama will not take the fight to ISIS? Is that what's causing it?
That's one part of it, but this goes on even before the rise of ISIS on the American radar screen. There is just, and again, I have to stress that this is not a systematic survey I've undertaken. It's just my own informal soundings of people at various levels of the military as I go about my travels here in official Washington over many years' time. And the sense I pick up is that the rank and file and some measure of the officer corps don't regard Barack Obama as the kind of Commander-in-Chief they would like to see. They would like to see somebody who perhaps was more aggressive in combating Islamic extremism around the world.
Okay, but let me
that includes ISIS. That includes ISIS.
There was nobody more aggressive than Vice President Cheney. And I think everybody would admit, even military people, that there were plenty of mistakes made for overreacting the way we did in Iraq. I don't think Afghanistan was an overreaction, but Iraq was, and it has been proved to be. So maybe the military is a little too hawkish. Is that possible?
Well, that's like saying comedians are too funny, Bill. We want our Pentagon and our military to be hawkish. There was a whole set of embedded premises in what you just laid out about Vice President Cheney in Iraq, and time doesn't permit me here to deconstruct them all. I would say to you that I covered the 2004 presidential campaign. I was out on the road with President Bush when he was running for re-election against Senator John Kerry, the Democratic nominee. President Bush's military record was not extensive or sterling. And yet we went to a lot of military bases, not for campaign purposes, but just across his presidency. And the military, the rank and file, loved George W. Bush.
Yeah, they did.
And yet John Kerry, who had an honorable military record by and large in Vietnam, was seen as effete
but that's
and
because
not
the
one
medals,
of them.
and all of that. All right, I
That's
got it. I thought it was a good question to Kirby. And you know, you do what you always do, Rosen, cause trouble. I can identify. And we appreciate you coming on tonight. We come right back. Is it